Today we're talking about building a successful webinar. Webinars are not scripted. They are built. They are strong and impactful. In this video, we'll talk about building that perfect webinar that's going to help you attract your ideal customers into your world and convert them from this place of indecision, this place of not being a customer yet, to paying and crossing that line and becoming one of your customers. In this video, we're going to talk about your most important task as a communicator, the thing that most people actually skip. They forget to do altogether and they absolutely regret it in the end. We'll also talk about sharing the spotlight strategically. And at the end of this video, we'll talk about the biggest mistake that marketers keep on making. First and foremost, everyone knows what a webinar feels like when they're just being sold and they don't actually get any value out of it. And we want to avoid that at all costs. So the first thing you have to do that most people skip, that you're not going to skip because you're paying attention, is to pick your topic. You actually want to teach people something. You actually want them to be better off having listened to your webinar, even if they don't choose to purchase. You want to create a space of value. Think content first. So what are the things that you want to teach people? What are the obstacles that they're facing that you can help them overcome? Even if it's just quick little wins, you want to get them that momentum. You want to give them tools that they can actually start to implement. So start with your topic. Of course, I always tell you to tie everything back to an understanding of who your customer avatar is. Who is your ideal customer? Who is your ideal audience? What is it going to take in order to align your message so that they get what they need to hear? They can have their worries and their fears and their objections calmed by what you're saying with your message. Align all of your content to that avatar. Let us know down in the comments who your customer avatar is. How well have you designed and developed that character, that avatar sketch? Let us know down in the comments. I'd love to meet your avatars. When you're designing your webinar, you want to make sure that you're using both your authority stories and your relatability stories. If you don't know what those are, we talk about those in another video. But today, you're going to use both of those stories to make sure that you're reaching your audience. But we want to make sure that we can get the most impact possible, which means that we're actually going to stop just talking about ourselves and start sharing that spotlight strategically. There are reasons and there's intentionality behind why we share and we move the spotlight to who and why and to where. So let's talk about moving that spotlight. Let's talk about ways and why you might share the spotlight. First, you can have guest speakers. You can have other people on your webinar to talk about certain types of content, certain parts of the story that you're telling in your webinar. This is a fantastic way to have a secondary voice. So I used to work in summer camp and I'd work with all of these kids, and it was fantastic because kids' brains are very similar to adult brains. They just don't have much of a filter. So understanding human psychology was a lot easier with kids than it is with adults, and everything I learned with kids transfers over pretty well to adults. And what we learned was I can be that authoritative voice with the camper. They're not having a good day. I'm telling them they're breaking the rules, and no matter how many times I tell them, they're not going to listen. My voice to them actually becomes like the adult voices in Charlie Brown. It's just wah, 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 just noise. But the second my colleague would step in and say the exact same thing as me, but in a different voice, suddenly the kid pays attention. And that's the same thing when it comes to our marketing messages, when it comes to our webinars. If we can leverage the power of our guests to help share parts of that story, then let's do it. Another way to share the spotlight is to highlight your past students, to highlight testimonials and case studies of past students, to show them when they implement your system, to show your webinar audience, when they implement your system, this is what can happen. It worked for me, but it also worked for this person. Now you can shine the spotlight on someone else, but it's still shining a spotlight on what your webinar is ultimately trying to sell. That's going to help create that relatability factor again. This time it becomes richer because it's no longer just about you. It's now got another character, another point of proof. The more case studies and the more testimonials, you can bring in your guest speakers, all of those things will also build that authority and help make that conversion. Another really cool way to share the spotlight in a webinar, which doesn't work for every webinar, but it does work for some really cool creative webinars, is to do live hacks, to show people live on screen how to implement parts of your system. So say, for example, you have a tracking program where you're going to track people's habits. You've trained them, you've taught them about what habits it is. Now you've created this accountability program so that they can track their progress, track their new habit, and they can stay accountable for it. So creating resources for that, but also showing them live how easy it is to use every morning. Every morning you tune in, you type in your goals. Every evening you check in and you let us know whether or not you've accomplished them. If you didn't, you create a plan to do it and then you move on to the next day. Simple. Showing them live how easy it is actually takes the spotlight away from you, shines it directly on what it is you are selling or what it is that you are trying to do to convert your movement. Pretty freaking powerful. If you want more cool ideas to help level up your small business visibility online, I recommend hitting the subscribe button and joining us here on the channel. We have new videos for you every single week. All right, I see this way too often. Marketers developing webinars and with this mentality of just do it, just put it out there. Iteration, you can edit it as you go. But what they're doing is giving us their rough draft. They're giving us an unpolished, unpracticed version. All I'm asking you to do, my friends, is to do a dry run of your webinar, to just practice it, to just test it out. Test it out in front of an audience that might not be your high stakes, single day launch kind of people, but these are your people who can help you tune into your message. And the best way, the easiest way to do that is to have your live stream show where your people are constantly gathering and engaging with you, your message, and your content. Share your webinar, share sections of your webinar, share the whole webinar if you want with your people and get their feedback. Get their live feedback if you can. Get their later on replay crew feedback if you want. But ultimately, what you're trying to do is share your message with as many people as you can before it becomes that high stakes, I'm trying to sell my product moment. Build it into your program. Now, if you already have live content, you're already shooting live video from your phone maybe, or you're showing up live in your Facebook group, or maybe you're recording a video and posting it on your page once in a while. If you're already doing that, that's fantastic. We can just crank it up to 11. And what you're going to do first, though, if you want to crank it up to 11, is click the link down below and download our live stream analysis. That is a beautiful tool that's going to walk you through all of our Stream 360 framework and show you all of the different areas that you can start improving on your live content. It's more than just showing up and shooting a video and saying hi to our people. There are ways to create beautifully, deeply engaged communities of our ideal customers to help nurture them up through our value ladder, through our different products and all the different things that we offer to really build a movement. And so first you're going to download the live stream analysis, work your way through that, watch all the video trainings. It's a beautiful, beautiful product for you. And then at the very bottom of that, once you're done, once you've gotten your score, you're going to join us for Live Academy and we're going to be able to crank that score up. We're going to be able to fill in where you're missing. We're going to be able to accelerate beautiful areas of growth for you, your community, your show, and your visibility. I love it. All right, my friends. Say it with me now. Remember, I love you. Be excellent to each other. And just go live. Like, really, your people are waiting for you. They need to hear your message. Go out and get them.